It's always good to be in Dallas, one of the most significant sources of referrals for the Surgery Center of Oklahoma. It is ironic that this city, home of two of the most viciously anti-free market hospital systems, would serve as our gracious host this year. The FMMA Roadshow continues as we encourage newcomers to compete with us and adopt and copy the innovative strategies none of us considers proprietary. Had Jay Kempton kept the Surgery Center of Oklahoma a secret, we would probably not have survived. It was not in his interest to introduce us to his competitors. He never entertained an exclusive contract with our facility where, as gatekeeper, he could collect a toll from any other self-funded buyer that wanted to access us. Foregoing this revenue, he just did the right thing. These are the seeds and the principles which spawn this free market movement, one which champions mission over revenue. What sort of business school teaches this strategy? What sort of lunatics shout the secrets of their success from the rooftops and pass along insider tips to their competitors to avoid the potholes? What sort of businessmen say no to business that generates profits but violates their self-monitored golden rule? As Jay Kempton has said, the money follows the mission in this free market space. And to succeed, we must not just be able, but willing to embrace the adversity that accompanies battling the status quo. Burn the ships, therefore, seems an appropriate theme this year. When Cortez arrived at the New World mainland, he ordered the burning of his ships. With this bold act, he eliminated the option of retreat and brought, therefore, complete focus to the mission. It is important to note that had he not expected adversity of the most extreme nature, he would not have destroyed his only escape. He made certain there was no turning back. Many of you have burned your ships unwilling to return to the old ways. You would likely find yourselves unwelcome, even if you could return to your old ways. Imagine David Contorno working for the large brokerage houses that he savages on a daily basis. Imagine Jay Kempton as CEO of Anthem Blue Cross. I could go on with almost everyone in this room, but they're way past the point of no return. Most incredibly, the destruction of their escape hatch has been by their own design. It is this unhinged courage, welcoming adversity as a test of strength, that our choice of theme is meant to highlight. Burn the ships as a phrase and a theme is one we'd additionally hoped would encourage those of you with your toe in the water to jump, to go all in. And for those of you who have burned your ships and find yourselves weary, persecuted by industry trolls, we hope the conference refreshes your spirit as you become acquainted with the paths of the other ship burners here. Burn the ships, as I've said, represents the primacy and triumph of mission over revenue. There are, after all, two economic models in our industry. One is devoted to revenue, and the other, promoted by this organization, is devoted to value. If we are burn the ships, the American Hospital Association is anything for a buck. If it makes money, it must be okay, represents the attitude that drives so many North Texans to my facility. Many of you, though, have left money on the table to embrace both the bounty and the discipline delivered by the free market. Again, what MBA program teaches this strategy? We recently performed a circumcision on a 4-year-old from Tennessee, where an academic center you've all heard of quoted $22,000 just for the facility fee. There was no discovering the fees of the surgeon or the anesthesiologist. Our bundled, all-inclusive fee was $2,000. And after past circumcision, surgeons have told me I've overpaid them. I'm often asked, why not charge $6,000? Focusing on value, not revenue, allows more patients to access care and provides an immunity to competitors who might try to undercut our pricing. That's my answer. If you were opportunists looking for the next chance to make money, you would not be here, and you would have left your options open. If you were an opportunist, you would have minimized the risk you entertained. If you were a seasoned opportunist, you would have figured out a way others could take the risk for you, and you alone could take the profit. Opportunists, when they hit a wall, are happy to bribe their way through legislative chambers, craft all manner of backroom deals, and coldly ignore the pain and even death of patients in their pursuit of market share and profits. Opportunism, the core and essence of the industry trolls, manifests as the state-sponsored economic terrorism that we call cronyism. Opportunists frequent life's casino, often betting the lives and money of others, playing the odds, focused on probability and economic models. Entrepreneurs bet the farm, their farm. You are not opportunists. You are risk takers, just like Cortez, and are entrepreneurs, exercising judgment in the face of uncertainty. To better understand in economic terms what you and Cortez have in common, it's important to understand the difference between probability and certainty and uncertainty. Probability is rolling the dice, where any number of results are possible. On the other hand, think of skydiving as uncertainty, sort of a pass-fail, a measurement of commitment. If Cortez were playing the odds, he would have allowed for an escape and would have left his ships intact so that he could pursue the next opportunity. No one in this room, having burned their ships, would go back to doing business the old way, even a little bit the old way. There is no going back, particularly after having a taste of doing business the honest way. To compromise principle even slightly is to capitulate completely. An illustration. Many years ago, one of Steve Lantier's and my surgical partners wanted to sell some small percentage of our facility to a hospital system. He was fearful of their reprisals. He was unable to understand that no meant no. Frustrated with no, and when he implored us to sell just 5%, I said that just one thimbleful of filth added to 5 gallons of pure drinking water rendered it undrinkable after all. This surgeon was no entrepreneur, no shit burner, and I'm proud to say he's no longer a partner at our facility. His fear of the hospitals and the lack of what he perceived as their safety net got the best of him. As entrepreneurs, we are dreamers, and our imagination has conjured a vision of high quality and affordable medical care achievable through a free and competitive market. This has become a reality for many in this room and countless patients in this country and even outside of this country. This also explains what is inexplicable to the opportunists, that we help each other, even though many of us in this room are competitors. This organization began, after all, as an outreach mission to the competitors of the Surgery Center of Oklahoma and the Kempton Group, and the pillars we've all embraced are meant to distinguish those who have burned their ships from those who've not. Over time, opportunists, no longer among us in this organization, cloaked as free market champions, have departed. their old addiction of robbing clients appealing to them more than making an honest living. As entrepreneurs and free market champions, we have seized the moral and ethical high ground in the debate, much as the trolls and the anti-capitalists would argue otherwise. I do not mean to say that mission and results-driven motivations are necessarily mutually exclusive. The FMMA ship burner has only burned a bridge to illicit profits, preferring rather to reject duplicity and profit only from honest exchange. A focus on value rather than revenue is therefore a natural result of free market exchange, as current and future price gougers stand to lose customers and reputation and therefore vanish from the marketplace. I'm going to do what I believe is right, even if I lose money or even go broke, is not the mantra and the motto of the opportunist. It is the mantra of the not-for-profit hospital administrator. It is the mantra of the opposite of that, of the principled mission-driven entrepreneur. Contrary to what communist Cortez might think or say, is that I would go broke and doing the right thing. When Jay Kempton and I met, he was about to sell his company, sick and tired of dealing with the status quo. When Dan Oliver and I met, he was full of dread, hating the thought of going to work. These and many other examples serve to demonstrate another aspect of the Cortez story that applies. Cortez could not fathom upon arrival the treasure that he had under his feet, beyond any gratitude he might have had just for a safe arrival. Similarly, many of you have risked much to join this movement, and like me are continuing to find and discover the wonder of it all, the beauty of the market. Rescued and rewarded are the two simultaneous feelings that undergird the passion of you free marketeers. Once I think we truly understand where we have landed, even though our ships are gone and our escape hatch has been sealed, the uncertainty ahead no longer harbors such dread. I think it is fair to say that the inspiration provided by past conferences has been primarily due to the achievements of members of this movement. This year, however, I would like for you to consciously consider not only what has been achieved, but what has been endured. What opportunities have been foregone. Indeed, Herculean efforts are underway that have yet to show tangible results, and the heavy lifting of some of you may only bear fruit elsewhere or in another time, about which you may never be aware. History is full of early innovators who were crushed only for their successors to realize the fruits of their efforts. I am now convinced that if the marriage of the medical industry with the discipline of free markets isn't marred with setbacks, a compromise or sellout of some kind has settled in. As I told a group starting a new free market facility recently, if it is easy, you will know it is wrong. It is the mission-driven, the ship burners who will find strength to continue to fight the statists and the trolls who dream of imposing their murderous and final solution on the rest of us. I commonly hear, I want to start a surgery center of Oklahoma in my state. Do you? I ask. Do you really? Maybe I should ask, are you ready to burn your ships? Our path at the Surgery Center of Oklahoma has been and continues to be a challenging one which we would long ago have abandoned had we not been mission-driven. Whatever success we've had, I am filled with wonder with what we've endured, and we're not alone. When a very large self-funded company that the Kelly brothers at the Texas Free Market Surgery Center and the Surgery Center of Oklahoma both do business with, recently started to impale us with the Cigna bayonet, we both fired this company. This move was good for neither of our bottom lines, but was consistent with the FMMA pillars of willing buyer and seller. We believe this setback is temporary, but there's no mistaking its financial significance to both of us. When the state of Oklahoma's self-funded plan played the hospital-backed bully card on the Surgery Center of Oklahoma almost 2 years ago, demanding a 40% haircut off of our website fees, we fired them and we lost 30% of our revenue. We are slowly filling this void, and remarkably, due to our ship-burning partners, we remain mission-focused. Ask Dr. Richard Kuby, practicing in the People's Republic of Illinois. Or ask Dr. Bill Grant, who constantly battles the Virginia cartel about their challenges. Ask them what they've endured. Ask them what opportunities they've foregone. These are no revenue-driven opportunists. They are mission-driven ship burners. If they wanted to get rich, they would do something else. Ask the third-party administrators or brokers here how much business they have lost because they've chosen to represent their fees to clients honestly rather than steal from them with vendor rebates and commissions when no one is looking. The smallest victory in a state like Carolina. Sorry. The smallest victory might actually be as remarkable as a larger victory in another state not ruled by the health cartel equivalent of Sharia law. The endurance, passion, dedication, and frankly faith required to sustain the blows and schemes of the trolls in this industry should be acknowledged and celebrated. Many in this room are new or have perhaps accomplished little in this insurrection, but they have risked and endured much. I would encourage you to view your colleagues through the lens of perseverance just as clearly as the lens of accomplishment. When the famous Austrian economist Walter Block was told by the Fraser Institute that his next book must be on the benefits bestowed upon us by government, he replied, it would be a very short book. He thought this might cost him his job, and it did. He had burned his ships long before in his quest to drill into our heads the carnage and destruction of the state, mankind's most corruptible invention. We would all agree that medical services are far too important to entrust to the state. And as we now hear the cries of Medicare for all, I would like to make one final point. None of the cronies in our industry could carry out their price gouging robbery were it not for their arms dealer, Uncle Sam. I encourage everyone in our industry to view the government through this lens. It is the state, after all, that has auctioned favors to industry mobsters that are only then armed and enabled to fleece and brutalize the sick. It is the state that now claims Medicare for all utopia can be achieved if we would only trust the vision of Joseph Stalin. It is this state that would have us focus on the expansion of Medicaid, all in the interest of their crony pals. It is the state whose deliberate distraction of coverage is meant to divert our gaze from the true issue, price and affordability. I say deliberate, for if medical services were affordable, there would be very little market for what the industry mobsters have to sell. If you can allow yourself to view Uncle Sam as the industry's arms dealer, then you will see the Unaffordable Care Act and Medicare for All as healthcare's version of Fast and Furious. So welcome to the conference. Listen to the stories of fellow attendees through the endurance lens I've suggested. Keep in mind the true enemy of free markets is government at all levels. And know that you are entrepreneurs in the truest sense, engaged in and the leaders of the struggle for medical liberty. Thank you. At this time, I would like to recognize Megan Friedman. And Megan, come up here. This organization, as you look around, is not the same organization that it was when we started. This organization is bigger. It has been very fortunate to attract the attention and the support of vendors who are honest in dealing with their clients. And this organization has been run by volunteers, primarily Megan. Let's give her a hand. Megan has chosen to work. Oh, yes, and this. Thank you. Thank you. Megan has chosen to actually work for a living, and the organization has become so large. It's time now for the FMMA to have a paid executive director, and I would like to introduce to all of you James Donovan. James, will you come up? James will tell you about himself and introduce Dr. Bob Murphy, our next speaker. Thank you all again for being here, and let's give Megan one more round of applause.
Good morning. It's certainly a pleasure and an honor to be here and to have the opportunity to work with such a great organization and one of my personal heroes, Dr. Keith Smith. I guess you could say that I burned my ship about 4 years ago when I left the cronyism of state-supported higher education and eventually found myself at the Mises Institute, which I believe is the premier educational institute that teaches true free market economics around the world. For about 25 years now, I have been a student of the detrimental effects of government intervention in economic affairs, and ironically, I guess you could say, I just realized that that's about the same amount of time that I've had to take medication for frequent heartburn as well. Of course, Dr. Smith and I share many of the same heroes. One of those heroes will be speaking to us for lunch today, physician Dr. Ron Paul, who had a lot of impact on my thinking over the years. And as great as Dr. Paul was as a politician, I've come to believe that politics is not the primary solution for us to advance the free market movement. I think that involves education and entrepreneurship primarily. And so I see that as the great mission of the Free Market Medical Association is right now in our world, one of our biggest issues seems to be the confusion of the free market and crony capitalism. A lot of times the free market is blamed for a lot of the problems. The more the government has gotten involved with economic affairs, the more devastation and destruction has taken place, and then they have their willing accomplices in higher education and the media to basically blame the free market on most of those problems that the government itself has created. So I think the primary role one of the primary roles of the Free Market Medical Association is to clearly define what is the free market and be a shining example for what the free market can actually look like. And you guys are a reflection of that. I appreciate you being here, and thanks so much. I also will have the great pleasure to introduce, I guess, a friend of mine now. We've sung karaoke at several Mises events, and what I would say is probably the hardest working economist alive today, and he definitely has burned his ship, and he can maybe tell you about that. But Dr. Bob Murphy is a senior fellow at the Mises Institute. He's also a research assistant professor at the Free Market Institute in Lubbock, Texas. He's written numerous books. He hosts or co-hosts at least 3 podcasts. He has 2 or 3 co-hosting podcasts, and then he recently started his own podcast, The Bob Murphy Show, which I encourage all of you to listen to. He also co-authored a book called The Primal Prescription, which is a book on free market medicine. And without further ado, Dr. Bob Murphy.